Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from AnthonysCustoms, and for this review we are looking at the Figma Legend of Zelda the Twilight Princess Link. Now this is the DX version, which means it comes with even more awesome stuff. You can get the regular version, but the prices aren't that different and you get a ton of stuff with this. So I'm just going to be talking about the DX version. If you want to check out the regular one, there is a link in the description below for Big Bad Toy Store. You'll be able to pre-order both of them. I believe they're still both available for pre-order. But again, I would suggest just go with this one. Anyway, this guy, a much needed update for Link. I mean, we did get the two other Links in the past, no pun intended. But, you know, is this any good? Just because it's a new Link, not necessarily good, but I'm going to tell you, it's mostly really good, so you should be happy about that. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about a little bit shy of 5 3/4 inches tall. If you count the very top of his head, it does stick out above his head just a little bit, which makes him just about 14.5 centimeters. Now, this figure, like I said, is very, very nice for the most part. There are a couple of issues, and the main issue really is just that his proportions are pretty weird. They're pretty not accurate. Now, once you pose him, you probably won't notice it, and most people probably won't notice it at all in the first place, so I suppose that's not something to really worry about, but it is something that is true. It's the case, so I have to mention it, but pretty much everything else is going to outshine those particular issues. And I know there are some pretty hardcore fans for this particular game, and some people that don't necessarily care for it so much. But regardless of the game itself, I never played it. I do like this look for Link, and most of the details are pretty accurate, so I'm happy about that. And it's going to be a nice addition to my Smash Brothers collection. I need to get a Nintendo console. I never get to play any of the new games. It's kind of a bummer. Anyway, let's talk about the figure. How's the paint job? It's definitely more basic than Zelda's, but what is there is clean. You can see the gold that trims the tunic. It's very clean. There's not really any issue anywhere on there. We have some nice little lines over here on the blue part. We have the brown lines over here. The belt buckles are all painted clean. You know, it's very basic. There's not really any shading or anything, but what is there is clean, so I can't complain too much about that. The sculpt work is also fairly basic, and we mentioned that it's not perfectly accurate and not perfectly proportionate, but otherwise it's very nice. One thing I do want to point out, and this is probably a silly thing, but it does have the soles of the shoes are painted a separate color, which they could have easily just not done, but that kind of thing does add just some kind of detail to bring the figures to life just a little bit more, so I am happy that they did that. Okay, so let's talk about these accessories, because we have so many. There's a whole bunch. We do have two display stands. One of the standard Figma display stand for Link himself, which pegs in to the hole on his back in his pouch. And then we have another one that has a bonus clip connection for it. Now, the clip can be used to hold I'm guessing it's called the claw shot, I'm not sure, but it looks like a claw shot. Anyway, we have the clip for that, or you can remove the clip and use the peg to hold the giant mace thingy that he has. So that's pretty nice that we got a second one of those. So we do have a bunch of different hands. We have the two fist hands that come on him in the package. We have the two style pose hands, two sword gripping hands, and then a hand for either side for holding his bow and his arrow. So not the most hands in the world, but definitely enough. We have 3 interchangeable faces, the neutral face that comes on him in the package, one where his mouth is just kind of open and he looks angry, and one where he's yelling and looks very angry. We do also have one interchangeable hair piece, which has this little mask on it, which I don't know anything about, but it does look really nice, so that's pretty cool. Of course, we have his shield, which is I don't think it's the exact same sculpt. I'm pretty sure it's a little bit different than the shield from the first Link that we got, but it's very nicely done, both paint and sculpt-wise. Looks great, nice and metallic where it needs to be, so that's awesome. We do have his standard sword, so that's really good. Again, I don't think it's the exact same sword. I don't have mine to compare it to directly, but very nicely done, both the sword and the scabbard, and of course that pegs into his back, and it's pretty awesome. And then we have, I think this thing is called the Ordon sword. I think that's what it is, but I don't know. It's the red one, and it's a little bit more basic, but it's still done really well. Again, both the sword and the scabbard, very, very nice, and they do peg into his back, of course. So we do have the claw shot, like I mentioned, and this thing's really cool. I'm going to actually show you this rather than just have photos of it. So the claw shot for this it's pretty complex, in fact. The handle can go into his hand, but you have to take this piece off first. So you take this little shieldy piece off, and then you can put it in his hand. And then you have the closed claw shot on the front of it, which you can remove and add the open claw shot with the chain as another accessory. But the cool thing about that is, well, you want to pull that off, obviously, because it's not supposed to do that. But you want to also swap them out. You can. This piece comes off. It's a little tricky to get it out, but of course it's not going to come out now that I'm on camera. I just did this before the video to make sure it worked as the direction said. Anyway, I guess it's not going to happen now. These guys are interchangeable on the end of the chain. So you can have either one connected directly to the device, or you can have either one connected to the chain. It's a very nice accessory, really great paint job, lots of different little bits and bobs to it, and it looks really awesome. So very cool accessory. Speaking of cool accessories, we also have this giant mace, which is solid, heavy plastic, and it looks fantastic, and it does have a peg hole for the display stand, so you can definitely pose it. But it's going to be a little tricky to pose it because of the chain, so it has to be pretty much in mostly outstretched chain or it's going to look a little weird, but he does have the little handle that can go in his hand and then the peg hole for the mace, so that's pretty awesome. And then lastly, we have our bow and arrow, which are just both very nicely detailed, particularly the bow. Really great paint job, really great sculpt work. Couldn't be happier with that. So that's it for the accessories. I think that's probably enough. I'm sure some people are going to want some more, but I don't know. I don't think you're going to be able to pose them with all of those at the same time anyway, so just pick one of those and be happy with it. I think that's a really nice spread of accessories. So let's talk about the figure. Do we have any updates to the design for Link? And yes, we actually do. His hood now, or hat, I guess you call it a hat, it has an actual hinge and swivel in it, so now you can bring this part out forward and back, and you can rotate it around. It really only wants to rotate to the one side, but that's still a nice addition, having that hinge built into that, so I'm pretty happy about that. As far as the neck articulation, it's pretty much standard. I'll pop the face off so you can see. We have a ball peg going into the back of the head, ball hinge, and then a straight peg for the neck, so it'll move around just fine. You really shouldn't have too much of an issue with any of that. Does the neck move? It does. So the neck, this whole white part has, is it a ball peg? I'm not sure. I was playing with it last night and I'm not positive. I think it's just a little bit of a hinge, but it really barely even moves. You know, to be honest, it maybe isn't even supposed to, but it does move underneath the tunic a little bit. For the shoulders, it's an offset Figma hinge, pretty standard joint, but it is offset, so it's a little bit strange, but it's a straight peg that goes down into the torso, so you can move it around this way, which is kind of nice. It gives you a little bit of a butterfly joint, so I do like that, but it does give you a huge gap in the shoulder, but I guess you're not going to look at that part of it if you're going to be using it. I don't know, it's not that functional, so I don't think it's necessary, but you can just ignore it because you can still put the arm in place and it works just fine. So you have that straight peg and then the hinge, your standard hinge, and then you have a ball peg out here with a socket, so you get a swivel. So you can pretty much move the arm around however you want. You can bring it straight up, you can put it straight down, you can put it straight forward. You know, you can really move it around very well. They did a good job engineering that. So you do have your bicep swivel built in up there if you want it, but you do also have one down here, right at the white part. So that's really nice. And then you can also rotate the arm actually at the elbow joint. So if you can't rotate this guy's arm where you want it, you're doing something wrong. The hinge does give you a little bit better than 90, so that's good. The wrist is your standard little tiny ball hinge. Works well enough, except the little gauntlet thing kind of does block it, but no big deal. That's pretty standard. I'm guessing double ball peg for the torso. There's no hinge, at least not as far as I can tell. So it moves around very nicely. Not the best range in the world in terms of leaning, but you do get full rotation. And if you combine this double ball peg with the ball peg in the lower torso, you can actually lean them over pretty far. It works pretty nicely, so that's good. You know, I'm pretty happy with that. So these are soft pieces, but they're technically soft, but they're very, very stiff. So you're not going to get the best range out of the hips, but it's definitely going to be good enough, I think. I mean, Link's not supposed to be doing the splits. You can move the legs around on that ball peg I was mentioning when I was talking about leaning him over. And then they have their ball pegs for their individual legs. So you get your thigh swivel on each one. Side to side is limited for sure. Forward and back is limited. But you'll probably be able to get them posed well enough. For the knees, it's a single joint. Definitely not the best looking knee in the world. Whether it's down or up, it just doesn't look great. Not exactly the right color gray, and it just doesn't look great. For the ankles, it's your standard hinge, forward and back, and then you can rotate it around to get a little bit of an ankle rocker, but really not that much. And then the toe hinge, It doesn't go very far, which I guess is okay because you're probably not going to use it, but they also don't go flat. Hopefully you guys can see that. I might not have it at the exact right angle, but the toes don't actually come down flat enough to help him stand. So he does have a little bit of an issue with that. And then, he doesn't have the best posability, but he is a really solid figure. He's not perfect by any means, but he's definitely good enough, and he comes with a ton of really fun accessories. So I'm going to tell you it's worth getting if you're a Zelda fan or a Smash Brothers fan. You should probably pick it up. So I would do it. Just be aware that it's not like this dream figure that's absolutely perfect, but it is definitely good enough. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And in the meantime, keep collecting.